Is it changed? And then we don't talk. How do you remove this? It's not like but don't you have another browser that you can log on to Facebook with?
I can use my cell phone.
But you won't be able to press live. Do you know what it is?
Smoke.
Are you on your Facebook page now? It's on Chrome, but we can't use Chrome, remember? Download the Firefox first. Okay, the link is go up there. You need to log in at your computer.
Percentage sign 300.
Ashule mutare. Ashule. Bueno, ashule na meti. Na mena. Na meti.
Because I'm making.
I will ask you to be the one.
What's that?
I'm telling you.
Do you want to go live right now?
Yeah, please. Because I know we find out that our communications are still up for me.
I'm just waiting for it to pick up.
No, it's fine.
Only when I did that does it come back. And I'm not sure what's happening.
They'll update me.
Yeah.
It's
supposed to still capture this one. Do you see what my problem is? This is her Facebook page. I see her education. Unless if you go and just because it's not live streaming on education, it's live streaming on this. Switch now. You were live streaming on this is the one.
The Honorable the Speaker.
Members, good morning and welcome to this meeting. We would like to thank those who had the fought for refugees who were ill disposed. Thank you very much. Are there any motions to that notice in terms of House Rule 145? Honorable Pala.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the GA that this House knows the latest incident of an attack on a police station. A suspected robber who was fatally shot by backup police at the Legislature police station last Monday night. A suspect reported he armed a police officer and refused to surrender when backup arrived. The House must further note that this is not an isolated incident. Less than 5 months ago, 20 armed criminals brought to the Malamulele police station firearms and ammunition and then proceeded to rob local businesses of cash. The Malamulele gang was arrested only 8 weeks after the incident. The South must further note that this incident proves the extent to which criminals are confident to target rural police stations that have seemed to have become soft targets. SAPS in Limpopo needs to turn around the previous reported downward trend of crimes detected as a result of police action in Limpopo province and urgently establish a well-informed crime intelligence network. The removal of criminal elements in the force needs to be removed, as we have seen in some instances former and or current law enforcement officials are involved in criminal activities.
Thank you, Speaker. 10 seconds to motion straight from
Thank you very much. Are there any further motions to further motions in terms of rule 125? No, sure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the ANC in this August House to send messages of condolences to the family, friends, and comrades of Soldier Kusela, a unionist to the end who spent a great deal of his service in the public sector representing workers. The Nehru Regional Secretary was involved in a car accident about a week ago and unfortunately could not make it. Comrade Mabusela was central to the workers' collective bargaining process and has dedicated his life to championing the interests of the workers. That has robbed the workers of a independent and an outstanding leader of the working class. May his soul rest in peace. I so move.
Any second? Honorable no?
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Are there any further motions without motions? Honorable
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The EFF is pledging its support for students whose right to access quality education is being denied. This is a violation of student rights, which undermines the EFF's cardinal pillar on education. Therefore, we call on the college management to address the impasse in the interest of poor students who depend on the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Students are forced to submit supporting documents such as affidavit and a signature of a parent on a declaration form by the college before they can receive their NSFAS allowance. This led to a shutdown of the Bulugwane, Sishiku, Silwa Barwana, and Ramakhupa Capricorn TVET colleges, a move that the EFF is fully behind. Students cannot be held at ransom
due to petty requirements by the college. Primarily because these students have already been approved by LS funds for funding in 2022 financial year. The EFF believes that this is an undue delay, which its main purpose is to distract the revolution of an educated society. Starting a year on a bad foot is not good for our students, especially after dealing with the impact of COVID-19 on education, and now they are propelled yet to another pandemic of being precluded from the gains of democracy. Capricorn TVET colleges are public institutions, and we call on the management not to run it like their own home. The EFF will take the necessary action to make sure that the academic activities resume at the affected campuses. I so move.
Any seconder? Very much. Are there any further motions on this one?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move without motion. Honourable Speaker, I rise on behalf of the Democratic Alliance to move that this House notes, now more than ever, that this House needs to augment its responsibilities to ensure the optimization of all funds allocated from the fiscus to safeguard the people of Limpopo against the potential impacts of economic livelihood, against the effects of the global economy and the war between Russia and Ukraine. Further notes that the war in Ukraine poses hardships for households, the agricultural sector and food security due to the rising cost of fuel, fertilizer and food. Also note that currently 3.32 million people in Limpopo are unemployed and desperately looking for an alternative to joblessness and hunger. It is the responsibility of this House to hold the executive accountable to ensure that the quality of lives improves for all in the province despite a failing global economy. Finally notes that it's paramount to encourage foreign and domestic investment, address poor governance and focus on improving and addressing the province infrastructure backlogs by accelerating these programs. I so move.
Any seconder? Honourable Thank you. Honourable Secretary.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The ANC is encouraged by the progress that government is doing on the rehabilitation of the road G11 in the Greater Limpopo municipality. This road is one of those that are in an extremely bad condition and not user-friendly. Based on its state, the provincial government had to commission an urgent rehabilitation initiative on it, as it was negatively affecting the flow of traffic on that busy road. As things stand today, the project is now at 65% and we expect the project to be completed as soon as possible. The total stretch to be rehabilitated, Honourable Speaker, is 10 kilometers. However, because of budget constraints, government had to only work on 6 kilometers as a first phase. And the rest 4 kilometers will be completed once funds are available. We want to welcome the endeavors of government for working tirelessly to resolve the infrastructure challenges on the many provincial roads that are having an adverse effect on the delivery of goods and services between communities. I so move.
Any seconder?
Honorable Speaker, I, Senator Donald Minister on behalf of the Majority Party to support the move by Honorable Marcel.
Thank you very much. Any further motions? None? Are there any notices of motion in terms of House Rule 146? None? Are there any statements by members in terms of Rule 2 for Honorable Parliament?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Limpopo local municipality is failing to collect refuse from Limpopo informal housing and settlement, which is surrounded by refuse. It is so bad that it seems as if Limpopo is in the middle of the landfill site. Residents of Limpopo complain that the refuse skips are not emptied regularly and that the refuse truck does not even come once a month to collect the rubbish. To exacerbate this matter, Limpopo is situated next to the Legislature District Hospital, and the management has also complained numerous times not only about the state, but about the powder rubbish. Honorable Speaker, the Democratic Alliance has reported this to the Environmental Hazard to the Community Services Department in Norway. On Saturday, the 26th March 2022, the DA hid a part of the informal settlement to enable children to play in an unpolluted area. Honorable Speaker, this House should find it unacceptable that the dignity of the residents of Limpopo has been compromised. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable ABC of Oxford please explain to this House why the Limpopo municipality is disregarding not only the NEMA Act but the Constitution by seriously infringing on the dignity of the residents of Limpopo? Further, he must explain what will his department do to ensure that this rubbish dump is cleaned, the pollution of the environment reversed, and the dignity of the resident restored. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any further statements? Honorable Monarch.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. Madam Lede, Hospital Negligence. The EFF is concerned about the allegations that Mr. Jeffrey Chauke was neglected since his arrival at Malamulele Hospital on Sunday, 27th of March 2022. At around 5 o'clock in the evening, Mr. Chauke's nephew, by the name of James, contacted an ambulance at Malamulele Hospital to come and collect his uncle at Mababila village in Malamulele. Sadly, the ambulance arrived very late, between 10 and 9 at night. Between 8 and 9 at night. Mr. Chauke was sent to receive his COVID-19 tests at Malamulele Hospital before his departure to Mankweng Hospital, where he was referred to receive further management for his condition. The EFF learned that Mr. Chauke was not admitted on arrival on Sunday, but left to sleep on the wheelchair, unattended at the administration hall and without proper medical treatment. The patient was unable to eat, he was unable to talk, and he was in severe pain. The purpose for his admission was to transfer him to Mankweng Hospital for further management. Because of hospital's negligence, the poor man left a person to wheel him
to the ambulance the following morning. We unequivocally condemn this heartless behavior of our staff members who could not carry out their primary responsibility of taking care of patients. Mr. Chauke has an established record at Manableda Hospital. Therefore, EFF on behalf of the family calls upon the Limpopo Department of Health to institute an investigation into the ingredients of Mr. Chauke. The EFF is of the view that this is a violation of Mr. Chauke's right to have access to healthcare services as his basic human right, which is guaranteed by the Constitution of the country under Section 27. We call upon the MEC to investigate this matter and hold those who are responsible for Mr. Chauke's suffering accountable. It is with greatness to inform this august house that the poor man took his last breath yesterday. As EFF, we send our heartfelt condolences to the family of Mr. Chauke. I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Usman.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The withdrawal of the policy on improving in conditions of services for the educators employed in terms of the Employment of Educators Act 1998 features incentives with effect of the 1st of April 2020, noting that in the Public Education Portfolio Committee's report it stated that only 17% of the targeted 60% of teachers showed requisite competencies in the subjects they offer. Also noting the lack of suitability, qualified teachers in mathematics and science with only 80% of our learners achieving the 50% mark or more. What were the circumstances that led to the decisions to withdraw the payments of incentives? What will be the direct impact on learners and the quality of education within our province? What will be the direct impact on the current 6,000 teachers in our province, mostly teaching in our lower quintile schools? Was the policy abused by educators in our province? And if so, was any investigations completed that gave sanction to this disciplinary process? What has been the feedback and reactions from the teachers union and affected educators with regard to the decision to stop these incentives?
Thank you very much. Any statements for the call for next call? If not, can we just request that we rise and observe a moment of silence? Thank you very much. I think the first statement was more on the Honorable Makamu, the person who responded to the first one. It's about the first move and color.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to respond on the issue raised by Honorable Parliament about the constitutional obligation of our local government, specifically the Parliament local municipality, in terms of collection of refuse removal in a village called Bashako. It is true, Honorable Speaker, that in terms of the objectives of local government, Section 154 or 152 also talks about this responsibility. But it also should be understood that the resources that we always have as municipalities does not necessarily allow us to cater for all the areas that were given specifically refused removal. But as provincial government were busy supporting our municipalities to make sure that they render services as is their communities' constitutional rights to receive those services. I will personally work with the municipality to see what is it that can best be done for the community of Matlaku, so that the environment where young people are playing should be clean and be a proper environment. Honorable Speaker, I should also, on behalf of the MEC for Health, also join you in observing a moment of silence in the passing of Mr. Chawuke. But the matter is a serious matter that I will take responsibility and share with my colleague that the thorough investigation with a view of improving that will no longer have the same situation that we had with Mr. Chawuke, where the services that should be given to our people cannot be up to scratch. We really as government feel for the people that we should be able to service. And we take this matter in a serious light, Mr. Speaker, that we will discuss with our colleague to make sure we improve our services. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MEC for Education and the last one.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In terms of the statement by Honorable Smiley, in terms of the withdrawal of the rural incentives, this policy was done by the National Department of Basic Education. Unfortunately, funds dried during the process, and we were paying, but it was unfunded money because we were not getting refunded. But also, it was abused because it was not covering all the rural area schools, but also it belonged to a person, not necessarily to a school, where if a person is appointed at a rural school, maybe to teach maths, when you get a post at a township or town school, it moves with the rural allowance. The unions are the ones who complained, and after thorough consultation, also with the SGBs, it was decided that it should be withdrawn and maybe look at the policy and see where we can strengthen it. So it was done. Who asked if it was done in terms of the consultation? Yes, it was done because it was not covering everybody and it was discriminating and used what it was intended for. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the tabling of committee reports, other reports and papers. And the tabling of the 2019-20 Section 47 report. Report on the performance of municipalities and provinces. Let me see Makam.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In terms of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act, number 32 of 2000, section 27, subsection 1, the MEC for local government must annually compile and submit to the Provincial Legislature a consolidated report on the performance of municipalities and provinces. Section 47, subsection 2, further indicates that the report must, 1, identify municipalities that are not performed during the year, propose remedial action to be taken, 3, be published in the Provincial Gazette. Honorable Speaker, in line with the provision of the above mentioned legislation, I hereby table the 2019-2020 report on the performance of municipalities in the province for consideration by this August House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I so move.
Thank you very much. The report is referred to the Portfolio Committee reports for consideration and report back to the House. Orders of the day, 7.1, the second reading, presentation of budget votes and schedule of Limpopo appropriation 2020. We shall now call upon the Honorable Minister for Education, Honorable Chair of P, to present the budget speech.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. On the tabling of committee reports, there's a report on public administration. It's not on the It's not on the
Honorable MC Kadish.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think we're struggling on Tuesday with the Madam Speaker, Honorable Muna. So you must pardon me, us, or when we say Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier in absentia, Honorable colleagues in the Executive Council, members of the Provincial Leadership, Provincial Legislature, leadership of the African National Congress, leadership of the opposition parties, stakeholders in education, Director General in our province, head of department of the Limpopo Department of Education, members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and compatriots. Honorable Speaker, it is a great honor and privilege to deliver the 2022-23 budget vote 3 for the Limpopo Provincial Department of Education. The department will reflect on the successes and the progress made towards achieving our set objectives as contained in the 2021-22 budget vote. During the 2022 State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa rightfully pointed out how hard it has been for our learners in the last 2 academic years. Open quotes. For the last 2 years, the education of our children and young people has been severely disrupted. As we return to normal educational activity, we will work harder to ensure that all learners get the quality education they need and deserve law school. Honorable Speaker, the unprecedented loss of teaching and learning time is well documented, and we have to get going in a manner that sees achieving better learner outcomes across the system. As a department, we are making a clear call to every stakeholder in the education sector, including our communities, to play their part in supporting our effort to deliver quality education in the province. Our Premier, Chubuse Limatabata, in his State of the Province address for 2022 has clearly said in no uncertain terms that, open quote, education is the backbone of economic growth, development and prosperity. It is in this context that as government, our task is to ensure that access to education, particularly basic education, is not unnecessarily impeded. The department, close quote, the department agreed fully with the Premier that the sector cannot afford impediment as a result of disruptions for whatever reasons. Every day should be made to count towards full teaching and learning in our schools. Honorable Speaker, in the 2021 budget vote, we indicated that the education sector has adopted the early childhood development as one of its 6 priorities. We also indicated that the process to shift the ECD function is well on course. The department is happy to report that tremendous progress has been made with respect to the relocation of the ECD function from the Limpopo Department of Social Development to the Limpopo Department of Education. The proclamation for the function shift was first signed by the President and subsequently to that the Premier of our province also signed it. The proclamation gives legal effect to the transfer of the administration, powers and functions entrusted by the legislation from MEC for Social Development to the MEC responsible for education, with effect from 1 April 2021. Tomorrow, it is not April, Honorable. The proclamation was translated into 6 official languages in the province. The ECD function was officially handed over by the MEC for Social Development, Ms. Christina Gagarin-Rapali, to the MEC for Education on the 17th March 2022 after thorough consultations between the 2 departments. By tomorrow, the 1st of April 2022, the functions will officially be in the Department of Education. Will be the MEC Mumbua. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Limpopo Department of Social Development under the leadership of MEC Christina Rapale and HOD Desmond Mahok for their cooperation and leadership in the smooth shifting of the function. Honorable Speaker, in the coming years, the basic education sector will focus on implementing strategies to improve ECD provisioning, which cover the strengthening of the national curriculum framework and thereby ensuring early learning for all our children in our province from birth to 5 years. In this financial year, the department has allocated an amount of 15 million to continue with the provision of outdoor equipment to promote the play-based learning methodology. So we'll be playing swing, in strengthening our foundation during the 2021-22 financial year. The department conducted reading, creative writing, and mathematics competition for grades 2 and 3. The program started at the school level, second district, until the finals at the provincial levels. Prizes were awarded to position 1, 2, and 3 to learners who reached the finals. Advocacy on reading plan has been conducted to officials in the 10 education district to promote reading in our schools. The main goal is to ensure that learners are able to read for meaning with comprehension, for understanding and enjoyment. The department has also procured storybooks for grade R to 2 to strengthen reading for pleasure. In this financial year, we are going to provide storybooks for grade 3 learners in both home language and English in quintile 1 to 3 schools. We want each school class to have a corner library, hence the supply of this storybooks. Honorable Speaker, in promoting reading for pleasure, the department has, through the second phase of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative, appointed and trained 3,646 reading champions. The champions support schools in the establishment of reading clubs, resuscitation of class reading corners, organizing of reading activities, and in the planning and organization of reading activities such as World Read Aloud Day on the 2nd of February every year. Schools took part in reading, dramatizing, and creation of poems from the 2022 storybook titled A Party at the Park. To further promote reading for pleasure, 360 teacher mentors were trained on the formation and support of reading club, and 30 schools are actively participating in this program. Honorable Speaker, in the 2021 National Senior Certificate Metric results, the province performance declined by 1.5% from 68.2 in 2020 to 66.7 in 2021. 105,101 candidates wrote the 2021 NSC examination. Out of the 105,101 candidates who wrote, 70,124 passed the examination. Out of these, 28,072 obtained bachelor pass as compared to 22,907 in 2020. 23,533 obtained diplomas as compared to 18,588 in 2020. Candidates that obtained higher certificates
are 18,516 as compared to 12,134 in 2020. 3 candidates obtained national senior certificate. To manage this underperformance, the department annually identifies, as regulated by Section 16A and 58B of the South African Schools Act, Act 84 of 1996, underperforming public school. These are schools that fail to obtain 65% and having less than 30% bachelor's and diplomas combined in the National Senior Certificate Examination. The schools have been declared as underperforming. The schools that have been declared as underperforming are provided with notices and are expected to indicate through the development of the academic performance improvement plan how they are going to improve their performance. The department has conducted accountability sessions with underperformed and declined district circuits and chronic underperforming schools. Chronic underperforming schools are schools which fail to achieve 65% over a period of 5 years. These accountability sessions provided the department with opportunities to identify key areas that are contributing to underperformance. Furthermore, these district circuits and schools were provided with differentiated support on how to improve learning outcomes in lower grades. In order to improve school functionality across the system, the department will reposition and institutionalize whole school evaluation. Honorable Speaker, the performance in the 2021 NSC examinations necessitated the Limpopo Provincial Executive Council under the leadership of our Premier to take a decision to convene a stakeholder 2022 Provincial Education Endeavor. The endeavor took place on the 10th of March 2022, where the intervention plan was adopted to improve learning outcomes across the system. The stakeholders undertook and signed a declaration to support the department in implementing the measures as agreed in the intervention plan. The endeavor also agreed that progress reports should be assessed periodically in order to intervene where there is a need to put the Limpopo province on a path to educational excellence. The endeavor agreed on the following intervention fund will be feeders to this center. This will assist in equipping our learners with relevant skills required by the mining sector in our province as one of the key pillars identified in our province to grow our economy. Honorable Speaker, in 2021-22, the department decided to resuscitate the 16 former minority schools to increase the performance of math, science and technology in the province. In this financial year, the department will continue with the program of focusing on this gateway subject. In that regard, we have also introduced the Naletsana, which are primary school feeders to the Naledi schools in our quest to increase learner participation, interest and excellency in math, science and technology from a young age. Currently, the department has 51 Naledi secondary schools, 32 Naletsana primary schools and 24 technical high schools. This will ensure that the province addresses the goals and objectives of the National Development Plan. Honorable Speaker, it should be noted that schools in the conditional grant have been supported by providing smart classroom equipment, including smart interactive boards, tablets, data projector and laptop during the 2021-22 financial year. Moreover, most will be retained during the coming financial year in order to strengthen the support further, while few new schools will be included. Several teacher training sessions were organized, targeting both the content and methodology in the FST subject. Learners from these schools were supported through winter residential camps and other means. Furthermore, learners were registered for participation in various Olympiads and competitions. In the last financial year, the department announced that a two-pronged approach will be followed in rolling out the e-learning strategy. The first approach was successfully implemented through the launching of the Smart Classroom in 106 math, science and technology schools with the software that is intended to revolutionize teaching and learning in the province. A An analysis of the grade 12 results in the schools indicates that the performance of learners has increased by an average of 5% in this gateway subject. The second approach was the provisioning of tablets to learners and laptops to teachers in selected schools in the province. The department is pleased to announce that 24,600 tablets for learners and 3,173 laptops for teachers in grade 1 and 8 have since been procured and delivered. The tablets will enable learners to have access to zero-rated educational websites and a learning platform. The interactive learning platform will also enable teachers to prepare and deliver lessons, give assignments, and interact with learners on the platform. The teachers will also be able to mark the assignment on the platform electronically and provide feedback to learners instantly. For the 2022 financial year, an amount of 312.7 million have been allocated for this program. This amount consists of a special allocation of 100 million from the Provincial Treasury and 212.7 million from the equitable share of the department. As we get more funding, the department will accelerate the provisioning of tablets and laptops to school, prioritizing quintile 1 to 3. The department is committed to conducting advocacy and mobilization campaigns targeting out-of-school learners with barriers to learning and disabilities to ensure access and participation for all. Honorable Speaker, inclusive schools are premised on strong pedagogical knowledge and skills. In that regard, the department has orientated 100 educators, SMTs, and subject advisors on inclusion, curriculum differentiation, accommodation, and concession geared towards the meticulous implementation of screening, identification, assessment, and support policy, which is the cornerstone of proper learner profiling. Further, that the department has completed the first draft of the SIAS practical guide to institutionalize inclusive across the curriculum, which will be taken for consultation and inputting by social partners. In its quest to improve learning, the department has decided to exploit the virtual and digital platforms in the teaching and learning for learners with disabilities by allocating 13 million, with which we procured assistive technologies for blind and deaf learners. These assistive devices were fully provided to all blind learners in the following 6 special schools offering academic programs: Setotolwane, Rimoni, Letaba, Hosile, Silwe, and Sirizini. In the 2022-23 financial year, the department has allocated another 13 million to fully provide assistive technologies for learners with low vision and those who are partially sighted. Honorable Speaker, the department is continuing with its drive to recruit new entrants to the teaching profession by ensuring that educators below the age of 30 years are prioritized for appointment. The Limpopo Department, Funza Lushaka, and NSFAS bursary schemes continue to be an impactful pipeline for the supply of educators for scarce skills subjects. In 2021-22, the department appointed 1,176 teachers who are 30 years and below, 359 of which came from the bursary schemes. The new recruits for this academic year is 602 bursary holders who will be appointed in school that are in need, funds permitting already. Honorable Speaker, the National Department of Basic Education is finalizing a teacher development model that will exploit a network of new district teacher development centers and provincial teacher development institutes. The objectives of the program is to intensify teacher development programs in our province. The training model will exploit the blended mode of delivery to ensure extended coverage and quality of teacher development programs. The department is currently rolling out a school management and leadership program that aims to prepare the future school principals. We are pleased to share that we have enrolled 200 school departmental heads and deputy principals with higher learning institutions in our province on an advanced diploma in school management and leadership. This program will enable school department heads and deputy principals to participate in the succession plan, which is key to school functionality. During the 2022-23 financial year, the department has budgeted 93 million for the training and development of its employees. This will be used to offer bursaries to 1,980 of its officials and educators. The budget will also be used for payment of stipends to interns who are appointed as part of government's plan to offer young people experience in the workplace. Honorable Speaker, the department strives to improve the quality and functionality of public schooling through the development of education institutions, management structures, and coordinated delivery of programs and activities across the system. In order to ensure that our school remain learning centers, the department has established a provincial consultative forum which provides a platform for engagement with Association of School Governing Bodies and South African Principal Association. In 2021, the department inaugurated all newly elected school governing bodies who are provided with induction and training on their roles and responsibilities as required by Section 19 of SASA of 1996 as amended. In the 2022-23 financial year, we will work together with various stakeholders to salvage and make the academic year a success by resuscitating provincial and district quality learning and teaching campaign QMTC structures in collaboration with the Provincial Education Examination Council. The South African Schools Act requires that all public secondary schools must establish representative council of learners (RCLs) as a way of ensuring that our schools are effective in 2022-23. We have planned RCL conferences wherein the focus will be on their roles and responsibilities, including debates on aspects such as bullying, sexual abuse, impact of 1976 June 16 in our lifetime, just to name a few. The department believes that full implementation of RCL activities and consultative forums will improve functionality of our schools and contribute towards improved learner performance. Honorable Speaker, the norms and standard programs have been allocated a total amount of 2.553 billion. Yes. Of which 1.787 billion is for running costs and transfers to school for quintile 1 to 3 public ordinary schools. And 745.981 billion is for learner and teacher support material. Included in the allocation is an amount of 20 million for exemption fee to cater for learners attending schools in quintile 4 and 5. We are pleased to inform this August House that the department is complying with minimum amount payable to each learner in public schools as gazetted by the Minister of Basic Education. The 2022-23 allocation is funded at 100%. Quintile 1 to 3 no fee threshold is 1,536 per learner, while quintile 4 and 5 will be paying 770 and 266 per learner respectively. With regard to small schools, there is an additional fixed amount of 85,598 per school. During this financial year, the department will continue to procure LTSM, which includes textbook and scholastic stationery for all public, ordinary and special schools. Storybooks and readers will be procured for grade R to 2 as part of the reading strategy. The department will further procure readers and storybooks for improvement and establishment of reading corners, as we said earlier. Honorable Speaker, the well-being of safety of our learners is of uppermost importance in everything that we do in the department. Schools are supposed to be safe havens for learners. It is against this exposition that we must make education a societal matter where communities are called upon to actively assume their citizenry responsibilities. The department is implementing the school safety policy and programs towards the realization of these objectives. During October 2021, the Department of Basic Education conducted an anti-bullying and anti-substance abuse campaigns through a jamboree event in Skukuni East District at Mawale Primary School after officially launching the campaign in Gauteng in May 2021. The event was attended by over 1,000 people, including different provincial and national departmental officials, educators, learners, SGPs, parents, social partners, and members of the civil society. Honorable Speaker, there has been a need for the department to strengthen provision of psychosocial support services in our schools. During the current financial year, we provided psychosocial support services to 2,600 learners through individual and group counseling sessions, and for some it was referrals. Debriefing sessions were conducted to 5,155 learners who were exposed to traumatic incidents. There were 6 awareness campaigns conducted on bullying and child abuse across the province. The training of 584 school-based support teams was conducted on provision of social support to learners in schools. Training of 1,762 child and youth care workers in public, ordinary and special schools. These are youth appointed through the Presidential Youth Employment Initiatives. On psychosocial support to learners was also done. Honorable Speaker, the in-school sports, arts and culture, social cohesion, and equity in education has for the past years been implemented across the schooling system. Its overriding objective is to promote physical education, provide recreation, and ultimately inculcate the habit of promoting active citizenry. This program encourages tolerance of different cultural practices, views, and generally promotes social cohesion in different communities. All the programs were halted since March 2020 due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. Since the opening of schools in the academic year January 2022, learners are participating in specific codes as gazetted by the Minister of Basic Education, The department is looking forward to the full participation of our learners in all sporting codes due to the relaxation of the COVID-19 regulations that are in the pipelines. This will be done in partnership with the Limpopo Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. Honorable Speaker, the Social Sector Extended Public Works Program Grant, EPWP, contribute toward the alleviation of poverty, addresses inequality, and temporarily reduce unemployment. In the 2022-23 financial year, a budget of 18.354 million is allocated. The department, through this grant, will continue to appoint 595 beneficiaries in the province. The following appointments will be made in various institutions: 433 school-based monitors, 18 administrative assistants, 6 ECD toy librarians, 133 ECD pre-grade R practitioners, and 3 data capturers. These posts are provided to enhance school functionality. The department also implements the National School Nutrition Program with an aim to improve the health and nutritional needs of learners from public ordinary schools in Quintile 1 to 3 and special schools. The NSNP provides learners with nutritional meals for a specific number of school days over a year in order to alleviate hunger, access to education, and to contribute to the enhancement of the learning capabilities. Since the implementation of the SNNP, learners' retention and punctuality levels have been positively recorded. Cheers. In the 2022-23 financial year, the program will serve meals to learners in 3,601 public ordinary, Quintile 1 to 3 primary, secondary, and 35 special schools. the department will also appoint 10,460 voluntary food handlers, which is an increase from the previous financial year. An amount of 1.530 billion is allocated for the National School Nutrition Program feeding scheme. Honorable Speaker, the Learner Transport Program is one of the access programs aimed at providing deserving learners with transport to schools. These learners who travel 5 kilometers or more single trip to school are the ones that qualify for the learner transport. The province has covered a range of areas in this regard as the number of learners to be transported to schools keep on increasing, while the rate is not increasing the budget. In the 2021-22 budget vote, we mentioned that the department provided learner transport to a total of 47,276 learners across the province. The number of learners coming from 470 schools have since increased, from 47,276 to 56,694 learners in the 22-23 financial year. The program assists in reducing absenteeism and late coming among school-going learners. Honorable Speaker, in the last budget vote, we mentioned that the department started delivery of sanitary towels to indigent girls learners in quintile 1 to 3 public, ordinary and special schools. In the 2021-22 financial year, 34.042 million was allocated to the department for this program. 2.3 million packs of sanitary towels were procured and distributed to 195,000 girl learners in quintals 1 to 3 public, ordinary and special schools. The department officially launched the Limpopo Sanitary Dignity Program on the 4th March 22 at Kibas Secondary School in the Bembe East Education District. In this financial year, an amount of 35.345 million have been allocated for this program, which is an increase, and we thank Mureki for that. Honorable Speaker, this program of life skills, HIV and AIDS is aimed at providing comprehensive sexual education and access to sexual reproductive health services to learners, supporting the provision of employee health and wellness program for educators, mitigating the impact of HIV and AIDS for learners and educators, providing care and support for learners that are infected and affected by HIV and AIDS, and reducing the vulnerability of children to HIV, TB, and STIs. During the 2021 financial year, a total of 170 learner support agents were appointed and placed in high-burden schools to make intervention to learners' barriers to teaching and learning. An additional 10 social workers were appointed on a 2-year fixed contract and placed in each of the 10 education districts. Their role was to support LSAs placed at the school to make direct intervention in the schools that were not among the identified high-burden schools. The HALS program is managed to train 124-second managers on HIV policies, including care support for teaching and learning, and the newly approved policy on the prevention and management of learner pregnancy in schools. In this financial year, 26.87 million have been allocated for the program. Honorable Speaker, the department has successfully implemented Phase 2 Presidential Employment Youth Initiative Intervention. Youth between the ages of 18 and 35 years were appointed in all public, ordinary and special schools on a 5-month fixed contract from 1 November 2021 and ending on 31 March 2022 today. It is our pleasure to share with this House that the PYEI will be implemented in Phase 3, which starts from 1 April 2022 tomorrow to 30 August 2022. The PYEI does remain a large-scale public employment intervention wherein 38,429 youth categorized as education assistants and general school assistants will be appointed on a new 5-month fixed contract. The appointed assistants We also provided with the following training: digital literacy, online national school safety framework, and 4 ICT models, compulsory online standard protocol for COVID-19, just to name a few. Honorable Speaker, it is our pleasure to announce that even under these unfavorable economic conditions, the department has retained the educator post basket of 51,752 for the 2022 school academic year. This is to ensure that the quality of learning and teaching is not negatively affected by the current economic climate. It should be noted that the pressure related to educator provisioning remains. The increase in learner enrollment from 1,693,589 to 1.723,692, and the more participation by learners in the technical and other gateway subjects has put a lot of pressure in the provisioning of educator posts. This has resulted in the rise of the learner-educator ratio, which in turn increased the average class size in all categories of our school system. Class size is among the important variables of quality teaching and learning. Honorable Speaker, as per the commitment made to strengthen school management teams, we are happy to report that to the other South and the people of Limpopo that we advertised 4,064 posts for principals, deputy principal, and departmental heads. Some posts were withdrawn and deferred due to the transfer of excess educators and the need to correct the curriculum requirement of the post. Out of the 3,589 posts, 3,326 appointments were made. This means that 92.4% of the posts were filled already. The residual posts will be advertised and filled in the 2022-23 financial year. This will help to be able to stabilize our structures and systems at our schools. We want to reiterate that the filling of this post will enhance the capacity of the SMTs in driving curriculum management and school governance responsibilities. We therefore expect improved functionality and performance in our schools. The department has commenced with the induction workshop for all newly appointed principals, deputy principals and departmental heads on their roles, responsibilities and expectations. Honorable Speaker, we advertised and filled 36 posts to provide appropriate support to learners with severe to profound intellectual disabilities in special care centers and schools. These posts include speech therapists, occupational therapists, educational psychologists, physiotherapists, and education specialists. However, we still have a backlog in terms of provisioning of professional and support staff to special schools, which remain a priority to be addressed. Honorable Speaker, the department has a high vacancy rate of support staff at second district and head office years. The underlying reason for the rapid attrition rate is the problem of the aging workforce in the department. The department has reached a stage where if this matter is not addressed, we will soon be incapable of supporting educational activities in our schools, which is the imperative of our existence as a provincial department. The Office of the Premier and the Provincial Treasury are assisting the department to deal with this matter. Honorable Speaker, in the 2022 State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said, open quote, government is introducing an innovative social infrastructure delivery mechanism to address issues that afflict the delivery of school infrastructure. The new delivery mechanism will introduce a special purpose vehicle working with prominent development finance institutions and the private sector to deliver school education infrastructure. Close quote. Honorable Speaker, we are quoting the President to illustrate the seriousness in which government is aware of the infrastructure challenges across the country and the work that is being done to address it. It is against this background that the department is continuing to deliver infrastructure across the province. In this regard, the education infrastructure grant budget allocated in this financial year is 1.016 billion. The department has received an additional allocation of 200 million from the Provincial equitable share to renovate and refurbish 50 storm damaged schools. Another allocation of 15.879 million for ECD infrastructure. The remaining 2 million is for the maintenance of office spaces. The total infrastructure development budget amounts to 1.534 billion. This infrastructure budget will be utilized towards new and replacement of infrastructure, upgrading of existing infrastructure, refurbishment, rehabilitation and renovation, including storm damaged schools, as well as maintenance and repairs of existing infrastructure. In the 2021 financial year, we are pleased to announce the department was able to complete the upgrading and additions of the following 9 schools: Siku Special School, Trikop Secondary School, KK Munari Primary School, Holutuana Secondary School, Radile Secondary School, Peter Mukanda Primary School, Rita Primary School, George Marabula Primary School, and Shorwani Primary School. Honorable Speaker, the contractor for Liboni Special School for the Blind has commenced with construction work. The physical progress on the project is currently sitting at 40%. The contractor is on course to complete the project well before the contracted completion date of the 24 June 2024. The construction of the new Malamulele High School is well on course and will be completed in June 2022. The following schools are currently under construction and are scheduled to be completed in 2022-23 financial year. Naledi Aniso Secondary Schools, Oldes Primary School, Kidela High School, Marude High School, Matakaume Primary School, Ituma Makume Primary School. In order to further improve teaching and learning conditions, the department is planning to undertake major upgrades and addition to 62 schools across the 10 education districts in the province in this new financial year. This investment will ensure major improvement of teaching and learning environment, particularly for schools in the rural areas. Contractors for the 86 out of the 62 schools have already been appointed and are on site. These schools will be completed in the 2023-24 financial year. The remaining 26 schools will have their contractors procured in the 2022-23 financial year. Tomorrow. The planning phase of an additional 105 schools will commence in this financial year. The school includes the new Bendo and Greenside secondary schools, which will go a long way in alleviating admission congestion in the city schools. The planning of Asipumelele in Sukuni South, Ritusheng and Sutulwani in Bulukwani is in progress. Design process will be completed in this new financial year. Funds permitting, construction is scheduled to commence in the 2023-24 financial year because we also take care of our special schools. The department is currently implementing water and sanitation programs for 215 schools using the in-house technical capacity. Out of the 215 schools, 211 schools have been awarded to contractors and 4 will be awarded in the next financial year too. To this end, 139 schools have been completed and 3 contractors who were allocated 17 schools have been terminated due to poor performance. The remaining 55 schools are at the very various stages of construction and their completion is expected by the end of April 2022. The department also wants to report to this August House that out of the 300 schools which were allocated to the Department of Basic Education through the Sanitation Appropriate for Education SAFE program, 246 have been completed, and the remaining ones are at a various stage of completion. Honorable Speaker, the Executive Council has mandated the department to establish an infrastructure technical resource unit in order to enhance its capacity and to undertake some project in-house. The unit is up and running, and it has ushered in a new dawn on infrastructure delivery. That's why we're able to make progress in terms of the sanitation. The department has embarked on a process to procure a panel of contractors to improve further the turnaround time in reducing the backlog of school damages. Honorable Speaker, the department continued its history of excellent performance in the National Teachers Award competition. In 2021, the following teachers obtained first positions in the NTA Awards competition. We've invited them here because so that the House can be able to recognize them. The first one is Mr. Liba Alfred Sokana in the secondary school teaching category. You can just wait, Mr. Sokana. And then the second one is Ms. Nkasana Sophia Matlaku in the Shiro category. Ms. Sophia. Thank you. And the third one is Dr. Timothy Balati in the Kada Asman Excellence category. We applaud these educators for a job well done. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to present the 2023 budget for the Limpopo Department of Education. The total budget for 2022-23 is 36.445 billion. The budget is made up of equitable share 32.586 billion, conditional grant 3.163 billion, and own revenue 694.4 billion. In terms of economic classification items, the allocation is broken down as follows. Compensation of employees, Mureki, 26.924 billion. Goods and services, yes, 3.955 billion. Transfers and subsidies, 4.359 billion. Payment for capital assets, 1.206 billion. The compensation of employees makes up 74% of the total budget. This percentage, however, increases to 82% when conditional grants are excluded, and it all goes to teachers. It is worth mentioning that the COE of the department under equitable share is 26.830 billion. Of this amount, 24.423 billion, that is 91%, is for teachers' salaries. So included in the budget are the following conditional grants: 1.530 billion for National School Nutrition Program, 1.316 billion for education infrastructure, 18.858 million for early childhood development, 49.721 billion for math, science and technology, 34.451 million for learners with severe, profound and intellectual disability, 26.875 million for HIV/AIDS life skills education, 18.354 million for EPWP social sector incentive, and 2.702 million for EPWP integrated. Departmental priorities are allocated as follows: independent school subsidies transfers to school 153.527 million, public special school education transfers to school 73.322 million, scholar transport 340.952 million, school furniture 56 million, e-education 320.718 million, COVID-19 333.738 million for transfers to schools has been allocated for the payment of cleaners, and personal protective equipment PPEs. Learner attainment strategy 101.133 million, inclusive education 15.420 million, teacher development 14.751 million. Education Management Information System (EMIS) 12.577 million. Library Services 5.802 million. Quality Improvement Development Support and Upliftment Program 4.431 million. Systemic Evaluation 2.181 million. HRP System 1.297 million, and School Safety 1 million. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, the department has and will continue to put necessary measures in place that will ensure that we work hard towards our targets. We will tighten monitoring and support system in order to achieve our strategic objective. We are called upon by the National Development Plan Vision 2030 to use these scarce resources to produce learners who are motivated to come to school and learn, train teachers who conduct themselves in a professional manner, principals who are leaders, parents who are interested in the education of their children, and suitable school infrastructure that enhances teaching and learning. Honorable Speaker, we take this opportunity to thank and appreciate the support of the Premier of our province, Dr. Chupusteni Matamata, whose leadership is always vital in the delivery of education in the province. No amount of words can ever be sufficient to thank him enough for his support, even when the going is tough and one wants to give up. The support from my colleagues in the Executive Council, I must single out Murray so that I get more. On matters of common interest and intervention, the Wise Council from the Portfolio Committee of Education under the leadership of Honorable Violet Mate, the Wise Council, and also their advice really keep us going. Indeed, your support is much appreciated. We take this opportunity to thank our partners and key stakeholders in the education sector. These include learners, educators, parents, school governing bodies, teachers' unions, learner formations, traditional leaders, religious leaders, our sponsors, the business community, and community members at large. We also want to thank the head of department, Mrs. Onika Dederen, senior management, and the entire workforce of the department for the steady work that we put in on a daily basis in the department's quest to deliver quality teaching and learning to more than 1.7 million learners who have been entrusted to us. It might not be easy, but I think Ms. Dederen, you are holding the fort. Your determination, dedication, and commitment is appreciated, and we urge you to keep on going. Together, we must continue to be hard at work to better the lives of our people through education and nothing else. Let me also thank my Chief of Staff, Mr. Masema, and all the staff in my office who are there at all times to ensure that we continue to provide the leadership and guidance that the department requires. Lastly, let me thank the wind beneath my wings, Umalume Bakwi, and my whole family for the unwavering support they provided to me during this difficult period when I had to be occupied for hours with regard to official duties. Let us all respect and protect the right to basic education. In all that we do, it should remain a societal issue that puts the interest of learners first. And please remember, every child is a national asset. Honorable Speaker, I hereby table the 2022-23 budget for the Limpopo Department of Education. Education is a societal matter. Thank you very much, dear Lemo.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for the elaborate speech. The budget speech for both the Rotary Department of Education is referred to the Portfolio Committee for Education for consideration and report back to the House. 1.1.2, we shall now call upon the Honorable MEC for Provincial Treasury, Mr. Swati, to present the budget
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that day, Premier of the Province in absentia, Matabata, my colleagues in the Executive Council, members of this August House, head of department, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Speaker, it's my honor and privilege to present the 22-23 budget vote 5 of Provincial Treasury to this August House. The focus of the Provincial Treasury in the coming financial year will be to increase monitoring and support of municipalities, departments and public entities, and to ensure that there is greater improvement on compliance with the PFMA and the MFMA and other enabling policies and legislation. Provincial Treasury has been allocated a budget of 409.9 billion for the 22-23 financial year. The overall allocation for the department sees an increase from 364.9 billion in 21-22 financial year. The budget will be distributed in line with the departmental economic classification as follows: compensation of employees 303.3 million, goods and services 95.7 million, transfers and subsidies 3.9 million, payment for capital assets 7 million. Our Speaker, compensation of employees increases by 7% from 283.3 million in 21-22 to 203.3 million in 22-23 financial year. The allocated funds will be used to fund identified vacant funded posts included in the COE is an amount of 10 million for municipal intervention capacity. The goods and services also increases from 78 million in 21-22 to 95.7 million in 22-23 to strengthen support in institutions. The allocation includes funding for municipal interventions and infrastructure capacity, locus assets module implementation, escalations on contractual obligations, and other non-negotiable costs such as legal fees, departmental fee running costs, renewal of software licenses, and maintenance of software and subsistence allowance, mainly for officials who are required to travel as and when they conduct their transversal unit functions in the 5 provincial districts. Transfers and subsidy allocations increases from 2.1 million in 21-22 to 3.9 million in 22-23 financial year. The increase will mainly cater for payment of bursaries for existing external students registered with institutions of higher learning, give gratuity for employees who retire from the public service, municipal rates and taxes, as well as vehicle license fees. Payment for capital assets equally increases from 1.5 million in 2021-22 to 6.9 million in 22-23 financial year. The increase is mainly to procure security equipment and systems and tools of trade for officials such as laptops. Our Speaker, our department is composed of 5 integrated divisions that ensure the implementation of the budget per our economic classification and their allocations are ensured. Administration is allocated 175.8 million to provide effective and efficient strategic management, administrative support, and sound financial management to the provincial treasury. The division comprises of the following sub-programs: ME support services, management services, corporate services, financial management services. On sustainable resource management is allocated 69.9 million in order to inform financial resource allocation, manage the provincial budget, and support and monitor provincial departments, municipalities, and public entities for efficient and effective use of
Sustainable resource management is also responsible for analyzing key economic variables within the province through economic research and their interrelations and relevance to the budget. This analysis in identifying alternative budgeting, revenue and expenditure scenarios on selected key economic growth and social development indicators. The division is also responsible for providing advice and monitoring of municipalities and their entities in the implementation of the Municipal Finance Management Act. An amount of 10 million is therefore allocated for funding the municipal support program. Honourable Speaker, the province currently has 8 municipalities with unfunded budgets resulting from either poor revenue collection, lack of necessary capacity to deliver, inability to pay creditors, and lack of coordination. I'm pleased to announce that these municipalities have been supported in the development of funding plans which are intended to turn around the unfavorable funding position. And we are constantly monitoring the implementation of those plans through dedicated bilateral engagements with municipalities with affected mayors and attendants. Ladies and gentlemen, as of the end of December 2021, we had noticed that at least 11 municipalities in the province had shown signs of financial distress, and during our 2021 municipal mid-year budget and performance assessment engagement, we have resolved that our municipalities must address their capacity challenges, particularly the filling of key funding budget processes, and improve revenue collections, which is central in improving their financial performance. To this end, 5 of these municipalities are already implementing financial recovery plans developed with the assistance of national and provincial treasury as well as costs. These are legislated plans designed particularly for municipalities with tolerating financial positions and under intervention Section 139 of the Constitution. We are collaborating with COPSA and National Treasury to monitor the implementation of these plans. One Speaker, our public institutions also contribute towards the financial crisis of our municipalities by not paying for municipal services as well as rates and taxes in kind. During the 21-22 provincial adjustment budget, the province allocated an amount of 154 million to pay current and area municipal rates and taxes charged by Makutama municipality, and further 121.5 million to pay municipal rates and taxes charged by other municipalities in the province. In the 2022-23 budget, the province again made available an additional amount of 150 million to the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure to pay current and area municipal rates and taxes. We therefore trust that this allocation will go a long way in assisting the province to settle the municipal rates and accounts on time. Hence, it will be equally important that municipalities ensure that their billings are correct to avoid incorrect billing. In an effort to support, we have developed a system of reconciliation between a municipality's valuation roll and rate of taxes billing. The process is intended to improve the accuracy of rates and taxes collection, which should be in accordance with the general valuation roll of each municipality. Honourable Speaker, we are also supporting municipalities in the development of monitoring of unauthorized, irregular, infructuous and wasteful expenditure reduction strategies. To this end, all municipalities are required to report monthly on progress made in the reduction of UIFW expenditure, including consequence management initiatives implemented by municipalities to recover municipal funds lost through UIFW expenditures. We held capacity building programs inclusive of councillors induction sessions, which were conducted in November to December 2021. This was done in collaboration with other stakeholders in order to provide guidance to UIFW expenditure reduction measures that MFMA in general and MFMA in general. Similar training will be done in the year ahead with municipal accounts committees, which are the SMPEDs, and municipal misconduct boards. Honourable Speaker, with the 2020-21 municipal audit completed, out of the 27 municipalities in the province, 4 have improved their audit outcomes, and they are as follows: Waterford District Municipality, Elias Municipality, Tahoe Local Municipality, Halakwena Municipality. 9 19 municipalities also maintain their previous outcomes, whereas 3 municipalities regress, namely Capricorn District Municipality, which has moved out of clean to unqualified, Yannick local municipality that qualifies to qualified to Mopani District, regressing unfortunately from qualified to a disclaimer. I therefore wish to take this opportunity and congratulate Waterfront District Municipality for having achieved a clean body outcome and to further convey my special gratitude to all municipalities that have improved their opinions in the year ahead. On Speaker, the technical infrastructure units in municipalities are faced with capacity challenges. As Provincial Treasury initiated an infrastructure support program with government technical infrastructure known as TTEC, so that our municipalities are capacitated with the requisite technical skills to effectively plan and efficiently deliver on infrastructure projects. Provincial Treasury has also undertaken an assignment to diagnose the conditional grants and earmark funding performance for provincial departments and entities in order to determine the required management tools and technical capacity to efficiently and effectively manage and improve spending going forward. Through this exercise, we noted that the challenges affecting performance of conditional grants are cross-cutting, and generic, and cannot be deemed unique to a particular department. And as a result, we came up with an intervention measures in the intermediate to improve the spending during the 2021-22 financial year and improve planning over the 22-23 campaign. Through the capacity building initiatives and support of provincial treasury, our departments came up with turnaround plans to improve performance in their current year, and the impact can be noticed in the improved expenditure during the fourth quarter. Based on the lessons learned and cross-cutting challenges, experiences in the delivery of infrastructure during the current financial year, we saw it necessary to expedite the provincial infrastructure plans so that we are ready to implement when the 22-23 financial year starts. And we also assist departments with improving their user asset management plans and infrastructure program management plans for 22-23 financial year. However, it must be noted that the recent Constitutional Court judgment that found that the Provincial Procurement Policy Framework Act regulation to be illegal will also have an impact on all procurement in the first quarter of 2023 financial year. Speaker, our province is faced with a constrained fiscal position due to reduced national equitable share. This poor position leaves the provincial government with limited resources to address the socio-economic needs of its citizens. In order to address the fiscal challenges, the province developed the Provincial Revenue Enhancement Strategy to maximize our own revenue and augment the provincial revenue. As at the 28th of February 2022, the province collected own revenue amounting to 1.302 billion or 93% of the revised target of 1.395 billion and anticipated to collect the aforementioned set own revenue target as at today, the 31st of March 2022. The provincial own revenue target for 22-23 has increased from 1.481 billion from the 2021 target of 1.458 billion and a further increase of 1.551 billion and 1.627 billion in 23-24 to 24-25 which reflect an average increase of 8.1% over the 2022 period. Provincial governments and public entities that generate more revenue above their own credible set targets receive incentives in line with the provincial revenue investment and education strategy. That will continue to encourage to bring more dividends. Provincial Treasury does plan to collect own revenue of 272.6 million in 2023, growing to 298.3 million in 2025, to which 272 million and 227.5 million of this own revenue collected in 22-23 and 24-25 will be from interest and on the positive provincial revenue account balances. Honourable Speaker, the provincial compensation of employees budget represents 68.6% of the 22-23 total budget and is allocated 50.757 billion in 22-23, 50.690 billion in 23-24, and 51.453 billion in 24-25 financial year. The increase of COE in the province has been concerned over the past years and was over 70% of the total budget in 2016 and far exceeded the 60% national norm as the provincial personnel management framework was introduced to and approved by the Legislative Council. Provincial Treasury will continue to implement the provincial personnel management framework through the Provincial Personnel Management Committee (PPMC) that manages and monitors the COE expenditure in all departments and public entities. Critical vacant posts are identified by the departments and public entities, and approval is issued by the PPMC based on availability of budget over the MTL period. I think I must emphasize this, Honourable Speaker. The Provincial Treasurer will continue to implement the Provincial Personnel Management Framework through the Provincial Personnel Management Committee, PPMC, that manages and monitors the COE expenditure in all departments and public entities. And critical vacant posts are identified by the departments and public entities, and the approval is issued by the PPMC based on available budget over the and not the provincial treasury. I'm emphasizing this so that nobody must come and say provincial treasury will allow us to fund and to fill vacant posts and so on. It's the PPMC that has them, not the provincial treasury. Since the introduction of the PPMF, the province has managed to maintain the COE expenditure below 70% of the total budget. However, the province has a long way to go to reach the national norm of 60%, which has a huge impact in terms of the developmental trajectory of the province. Honourable Speaker, assets, liabilities and supply chain management received an allocation of 48.2 million. This allocation will be utilized to provide policy direction and facilitate the effective and efficient management of assets, liabilities, financial systems, supply chain management processes. The division will continue to strengthen asset management, cash management strategies, and monitor supply chain compliance by departments and public entities. Honourable Speaker, the financial governance receives an allocation of 71 million, and this allocation will be utilized for the facilitation of sound financial management and financial accountability in the province through the capacity building, financial reporting, and development of transversal financial policies. The allocation in this branch will also be utilized to maintain and support all provincial electronic financial processes systems, implement the lobbyist asset module in all provincial departments, RFID support and professionalization of supply chain management in the province. The allocation will further be utilized to support oversight structures and bodies to ensure that all departments and public entities implement effective risk management and internal control processes. Honourable Speaker, internal audit receives an allocation of 4.8 million. The shared provincial internal audit unit enhances and protects organizational duties by providing risk-based bodies and objective assurance, advice, and insight to all provincial departments. The allocated funds will be utilized to pay for the quality assurance review as well as for the travel and subsistence of officials when conducting audits across the province. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, as a provincial treasury, we have statutory task of allocating, monitoring, and managing provincial coffers to ensure that they meet the developmental objectives of the government and as enshrined in the Public Finance Management Act. We will continue to be more vigilant in ensuring that public resources particularly our limited financial resources, are spent economically, efficiently, and effectively for the purpose intended as outlined in our effective annual performance report. And on that note, I thank you, Yalebo.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC and Chair. Just to urge members that even when they are happy with what the MEC is presenting, anything in the chamber is not allowed. Honorable Cooperation. It was anything here, I don't know what was this. It's not allowed. The budget speech of Board 05 is primarily Provincial Treasury is referred to the Portfolio Committee on Provincial Treasury for consideration and report back to the House. Honorable Maseko. Honorable Maseko, can we request you to come to the forward? Honorable President, order.
I apologize. It's honorable to be
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Members are invited to a lunch outside. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Maseko, for that. The House is adjourned to 05. Honorable Makufe. The House is still in session. The House is adjourned to Tuesday, 05/2022 at 10 o'clock in this the Limpopo Legislature. Thank you very much.
Honorable Speaker.